everyone, welcome back to Shift Happens, your 5-minute guide to Red Hat OpenShift Virtualization. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a closer look at how to deploy OpenShift virtualization effectively. We'll walk through installation paths, explain the differences between IPI and UPI, and highlight each approach fits into your broader platform strategy. Now, over to Ryan.
Welcome back to Shift Happens. Let's get started talking about the 4 ways we can install OpenShift virtualization, along with what is IPI and what is UPI and the different use cases that you can see. The 4 ways to install OpenShift virtualization is interactive, local agent-based installer, automated, and full control. Now, interactive is a web-based assisted installer. This is the ideal approach for clusters with internal networks that are connected outside to the internet. This is the easiest way to install OpenShift and OpenShift virtualization. Local agent-based installer is for a disconnected environment. So you have an air-gapped environment, whether it's at a remote site or even in your internal data center that you wanted to keep separated from everything else with no outside internet access. Automated is used for IPI or installer provision infrastructure, using each host baseboard management controller or BMC for provisioning. Full control, you can deploy a cluster on infrastructure that you prepare and maintain, which provides maximum customizability. So UPI, or user provision infrastructure, is the more manual way. Everything is done by a manual process. You have to go gather the IPs, get hardware set up, and obviously cabled up, but along with doing more of a click ops role, something that you might want to do during your first deployment to get the handle on everything for the provision process. You will need base hardware to get started and deployed. IPI is an installer provision infrastructure where it's automated. The system does itself. A couple clicks and it's up and running within minutes. Excuse me. You have less control and customizability compared to UPI. Each have their benefits and has a proper place in your infrastructure landscape. So let's get started in the demo, because this will take a while for it to set up and we have to cram it in 5 minutes. So on console.redhat.com, we're going to click on OpenShift, cluster list. Let's create our cluster. We're going to data center, create. We're going to call this demo cluster 1. And we're going to call this Red Hat. We're going to deploy the latest of 420.2. We're using x86 hardware. If we had any additional outside, like Nutanix, for integrated external partners. And we're using DHCP in the lab. Click next. This is if you want to create bundle. These are customized bundles that are already been set up for you. So if you click on virtualization, you can see that it's pre-selected a certain operators to be installed out of the gate. For this demo, we're going to have no pre-installed operators. We'll install everything as we go along. Click next. And this is where we're going to click on add host. Make sure you have minimum. And then we're going to generate the ISO file. This will download the ISO file. And this is where we take the ISO file and we attach it to our desired hardware and let it boot up to the image. And then they'll be popping up here. Now that all 3 of the nodes that we're working with have booted up to the downloaded ISO. Here you can auto assign. In this case, we only have control plane nodes, so we're gonna let them auto assign. Auto plane and worker nodes, excuse me. And this is where if you have other disks in here, you can customize them. Or you can click next. We're going to do cluster managed network. Here's our machine network. And I've already pre-reserved these IPs out in DNS. And without making a mistake. And the status will update itself when it's ready. And if we were doing a certain CIDR range or custom SSH key, we add this information here. And this part does take a moment. Oops. Okay. So this is where if you want to do 2 nodes with an arbiter, or if you have doing 4 nodes, you can make a specific on a worker node, or specifically assign what role do you want it to have. And in this case, we're just going to do auto assign. Hit next. Or API IP and our ingress IP that we pre-reserved out in DNS. And let this sit here and think about what it's doing. All right. When they all turn ready, you're good to proceed. Click next. And then this is basically a summary of everything. So review all of your inputs just to make sure they're correct. And click install cluster. This will take roughly 45 minutes to an hour depending on your network connection. And you can keep your periodic tabs on this. When this is finally done installing at 100%, we'll log back in and show what the display screen looks like. But it's relatively easy. Now that our cluster is at 100% installed, we're going to copy the password and make sure we save it somewhere else when the logs roll. And we're going to launch OpenShift console. Bypass the security warning. Where I type in cube admin and put the password in. And now we're into OpenShift. Join us next time when we cover everything networking. Thank you.